Let us travel far back in time, to a quiet morning on the edge of the northern sea, to a land of deep forests, stone hearths, and silver fjords. It is the year 965. The place, a small Viking village nestled at the base of a fjord in what we now call Norway. The wind is soft, barely moving the pine branches above the longhouses. The air smells of salt, wood smoke, and earth. And inside one of those wooden homes, made from planks of pine and roofed with moss, a man slowly wakes. His name is Eric. He is no warrior. He has no sword, no silver, no saga told about him in the great halls. He is simply a villager, a farmer, a husband, a father, and today will be just like any other. But it is in this quiet, ordinary day that we find the beauty of a life long gone. The morning comes slowly. There are no alarm bells, no clocks. Only the pale light of dawn slipping through the gaps in the wooden walls. Eric blinks awake on a bed of straw and sheepskins, his breath just barely visible in the chill. His home, like many in the village, has no chimney. The smoke from the hearth has warmed the roof and settled along the beams during the night. He sits up, listens. The village is still. Only the soft crackle of embers remains from the fire. Outside, a gull cries across the fjord. He does not rush. There is no need. He wraps a wool cloak over his linen tunic, stands, and gently steps over the wooden floor to stir the fire. Nearby, his wife, Astrid, still sleeps. Their youngest child curls beside her, bundled under fur. Eric steps outside, and there, the fjord greets him. It stretches like silver glass under the first light, still, silent, sacred. Across the water, snow-dusted mountains stand like giants asleep. He breathes deeply, the cold air sharp and clean. In the distance, smoke begins to rise from a few other houses. The village is beginning to stir. The day has begun. The sun is still low, barely peeking over the jagged cliffs beyond the fjord. Its golden light spills slowly across the rooftops, making the frost on the ground glisten like crushed pearls. Eric walks softly down the narrow path between houses. His boots crunch on the hardened soil as he passes by the familiar things. A stack of fishing nets, a row of wooden barrels, a yoke hung neatly on a post. He nods a quiet greeting to Kettle, an older man mending a chicken coop, and to Thora, who carries a pail of water from the well. No one speaks loudly this early. The village honors the silence of morning. At the edge of the houses, Eric turns toward the animal pen. The goats and sheep bleat softly, stirring at the sight of him. He opens the wooden gate and steps inside, brushing frost from the latch. This, too, is ritual. He spreads hay for the goats, scratches the neck of a sheep named Freya, and checks the water trough, still thinly glazed with ice. He breaks it gently with a stick. These animals are not pets, but they are known. They are part of the family in their own quiet way. When the chores are done, Eric returns home. Inside, the hearth fire has been rekindled. Astrid has risen and is already preparing porridge in a clay pot over the flames, stirring with a wooden spoon. Their eldest child, Leaf, helps by grinding dried barley with a stone hand mill. The aroma of oats, honey, and smoke fills the room. They do not speak much, not because there is nothing to say, but because the morning is meant to be simple. Warmth, food, breath. They eat together around the fire, wooden bowls in hand, spoons carved by Eric's father long ago. After breakfast, Eric wraps a woolen cloak around his shoulders and ties it with a leather belt. He picks up a small axe not a weapon, but a tool, and prepares to walk into the nearby forest for wood. Before he leaves, he steps outside once more, breathing in chill air. The sky is pale blue now, touched by gold at the horizon. Ravens circle slowly overhead. A neighbor's dog barks in the distance, and the clang of a blacksmith's hammer echoes faintly from the edge of the village. The village fades behind him. Eric walks alone through the narrow trail that winds from the edge of the village into the woods. He knows every step of this path, where the roots twist underfoot, where the moss thickens, where the ground stays damp even in summer. The forest is not far, but in the quiet of the morning it feels like a world apart. The air is still. A soft mist clings to the undergrowth, winding around the bare branches of birch and pine. Tiny frost crystals catch the light on the fallen leaves. A raven calls somewhere far above, then silence again. Eric carries a small axe in one hand and a woven rope over his shoulder, ready to bundle kindling. He isn't in a hurry. This time, too, is sacred. It is both work and solitude. A moment when the body moves, but the mind drifts, like a slow river through a still valley. He stops by a fallen log, one already dry, its bark curling away. With practiced care, he begins to split the wood into pieces the right size for the hearth, not too thick, not too wet. Each crack of the axe is slow and even. Crack, crack, thump. The rhythm becomes like a meditation, one motion, one moment at a time. He pauses, sets the axe down, and listens. There is something timeless here. Even though centuries will pass, and people will forget his name, this place, this feeling, will remain. The scent of pine, the crunch of leaves, the weight of wool on his shoulders. This is what the day is made of. Not grand stories, but small, honest moments like this. He gathers the firewood into a bundle and ties it with rope. He wipes the bark dust from his hands and stretches his back gently. A thin sunbeam filters through the branches above, lighting the way back. Before he returns, he stands still one more time and simply breathes. By the time Eric returns to the village, the sun has risen higher, though it still hangs low in the winter sky. Its light is soft, more silver than gold, and it glows across the thatched roofs, wood piles and plumes of hearth smoke drifting lazily into the pale blue air. He walks slowly, the bundle of firewood resting on his shoulder. Others are busy now too, in the quiet way this village always moves. There is no rush, no noise, no chaos, only rhythm. Astrid is spinning flax into thread near the doorway of their longhouse, her hands gently turning the spindle. Leif, their eldest, helps twist dried fish over a low smoking fire, checking it with careful fingers and adjusting the wooden racks. In another yard, a neighbor kneels beside a half-finished clay pot, shaping it slowly with both hands, smoothing the edges with a piece of bone. Everywhere there is purpose and stillness. At the edge of the village, the smithy clinks with gentle hammer. Strikes, but even that sound is soft, like a heartbeat. Thora, a craftswoman, is weaving a wool cloak nearby, the shuttle moving smoothly across the loom, her feet pressing the wooden treadles in a steady rhythm. This is how life flows here, not with shouting or bells or schedules, but with breath, with hands, with silence. Eric places the firewood, neatly near the longhouse wall and wipes his hands on a wool cloth. Then, like most days, he sits on a low stool and pulls out his carving knife and a piece of ashwood. He carves slowly, not to sell, not for fame, but simply to make something with care. Today, it is a small spoon. Each motion is mindful. The wood yields gently to the blade. The shape begins to emerge. Soft curves, smooth handle, the familiar simplicity of something meant to serve, not impress. A few children run past, laughing softly. One carries a sheep's wool doll. Eric smiles but returns to his work. This hour, when the sun stands still and the village is wrapped in quiet labor, is perhaps the most peaceful of all. There is no need to be anywhere else. The sun has now reached its highest point, though even at midday, it casts long shadows over the fjord. In the north, the light never climbs too far, and so the village glows not with heat, but with a silvery calm. A bell does not ring, a horn does not sound, and yet everyone seems to know it is time to pause. Astrid calls gently to Eric, who sets down his carving and walks back toward the longhouse. From within, the warm scent of stew drifts out, made from turnips, dried peas, barley, and herbs gathered the summer before. A single piece of smoked fish sits in the center of the clay pot, bubbling quietly over the fire. They eat together, as always, Eric, Astrid, their children, seated close around the hearth. Each holds a carved wooden bowl. Their spoons clink gently. No one rushes. There is no table, no noise, no worry. Only warmth and food and breath. After the meal, Eric leans back, full and still. His youngest child rests against, his leg already dozing. Astrid clears the bowls, placing them carefully by the water barrel for later washing. The fire crackles softly. It is time now for rest, the quiet hour. Not everyone sleeps, but everyone slows. Some lie down on fur bedding. Others sit with eyes half closed, watching the flames or the way smoke curls into the air. A few of the children whisper stories to one another, heads close, voices barely louder than a sigh. Outside, the village is quiet. Even the animals rest. Chickens tuck themselves under carts. Goats lie curled in the straw. Only the wind stirs, brushing gently through pine branches, whistling faintly through the wooden walls. Eric closes his eyes. He does not sleep fully. He listens to the fire, to the breath of his family, to the steady pulse of a day lived slowly. This too is part of life, not doing, but being. And in this hour, in the heart of the day, there is peace. The quiet hour has passed. The long shadows of midday begin to stretch toward the east, and the faint sound of soft footsteps and low voices stirs the village once more. No bell rings, no one is ordered, but as always, the rhythm of the day flows forward, calm and certain. Eric stretches slowly and rises from his resting place. His child, now awake, toddles toward Astrid, who is spinning wool again. A small pile of dried herbs is set aside to be tied and stored. She hums softly, a tune so old it may not even have words, only melody. Outside, the sky is still pale, brushed with wisps of white cloud. The air holds a faint scent of wood smoke and pine. Eric steps out again, this time carrying a basket of small wooden goods he's carved over the past weeks. Spoons, bowls, and one carefully shaped ladle. He walks slowly through the village toward the home of Youngvild, an elderly widow who lives near the woods. She greets him with a gentle nod. He says, "Little, just enough to offer the items." In return, she gives him a folded cloth, linen she wove herself. No coins are exchanged, no bargaining. Here, giving is not about gain, it is about care. Elsewhere in the village, different kinds of work continue quietly. Thora, the weaver, sits beneath an awning, teaching 2 children how to twist wool into thread. Their small fingers fumble, but she is patient, guiding them with kindness. Ketil, the older farmer, repairs a wooden bucket beside his door. He works slowly, sanding the inside with a piece of rough hide, then fitting the hoops with careful taps of a mallet. In the shared meeting hall, not much more than a wide room with a central fire, a young man reads softly from a worn scroll. A few others sit around him, not students exactly, but listeners. They nod occasionally, or close their eyes, letting the sound of the old words fill the space. The scroll is from a place far away, perhaps written by monks in a land they've never seen, but it does not matter. All knowledge here is shared gently. There is no race against time, no demand for more. Only tasks done slowly, generously, together. As Eric walks home once more, the fjord glimmers in the distance. A seabird floats above the still water. His hands are empty now, but his heart feels full. The sky begins to change. Above the fjord, the blue deepens into amber. The sun, which never climbed very high, now tilts toward the mountains, casting a long, glowing path across the still water. The village, too, begins to soften. Chores are ending. Tools are laid aside. Children are called gently home. Eric returns to the longhouse carrying a small bundle of kindling. He adds it to the hearth and stirs the fire once more, warming the space with its soft orange glow. Astrid has prepared supper. A thinner stew this time, flavored with wild herbs and thickened with root vegetables. A wedge of bread dried last week has been softened in water and placed by the hearth to warm. Their children sit close, watching the flicker of flames. Outside, the sounds of the village have hushed. Only the creak of a door, the call of a bird, the crunch of footsteps in the cooling earth. They eat together in silence at first, not out of strict rule, but out of habit, out of comfort. A few murmured words follow, stories of small things, little jokes, questions from the children. No raised voices, no rush, just quiet togetherness. When the bowls are emptied and the fire is steady, Eric leans back and tells a story. One his own father told, many winters ago. It is not a saga of great kings or gods, not tonight. Tonight, it is the tale of the elk that outsmarted the hunter, a gentle fable about patience, kindness, and listening to the trees. The children smile, eyes wide, and nestle into their furs. Astrid spins slowly as she listens, her fingers moving without looking. The rhythm of the spindle matches the rhythm of Eric's voice. Outside, the shadows lengthen. A soft wind slips beneath the longhouse door. Somewhere in the village, a short flute tune drifts into the air, a melody played for no one and everyone. It rises like smoke, then disappears. The day is coming to an end. The sun has slipped behind the hills. The sky is deepening, first into dusky lavender, then into velvet blue. One by one, stars begin to appear, blinking gently above the fjord like distant embers from the god's hearth. The wind is softer now. It whispers through the gaps in the walls, through branches and rooftops, rustling straw and thatch with a hush as gentle as breath. The village prepares for night. In the longhouse, Eric adds the final pieces of wood to the fire. It will burn low and slow through the night, keeping the air just warm enough to hold back the chill. Astrid pours warm water into a small wooden basin, washing the hands and faces of their children as they yawn and blink. The youngest wraps herself in a fur-lined blanket and curls up beside the hearth, already dreaming. There is no rush to finish the day, only quiet motions, slow gestures, whispers in the firelight. Eric steps outside one last time. The stars above are bright and steady. The moon hangs low, silver and soft, casting a pale light over the roofs and paths. The village is silent. He walks a short path toward the shore, where the fjord reflects the night sky like a mirror. He kneels, cups a handful of cold water, and presses it gently to his face. A small ritual, a way to say, "Thank you for the day." In the distance, a wolf howls once, not a threat, just a song, a reminder that the wild still watches from beyond the trees. Back inside, the fire dims, the family settles in. Furlers are pulled over shoulders. Wooden shutters are drawn across the small windows. A final log cracks in the hearth. Eric lies on his side, his back warmed by the flames. He listens to the slow, steady breathing of his wife and children. No one speaks. The longhouse is wrapped in a deep, perfect stillness. Outside, the village sleeps. The fjord sleeps. The fjord sleeps. Even the trees seem to sleep. This is not the end, only the pause before the next. Day begins again. And now the village sleeps. The longhouse is still. The hearth glows with its final light. Red, low, soft like breath. Outside, the stars watch from above, silent sentinels in a sky that holds stories older than the hills. The fjord, black and gleaming, holds the night like a cradle. No one speaks, no one stirs. Even the wind has gone quiet. In this silence, there is a kind of magic, a sacredness to the stillness. Not empty, not cold, but full. Full of presence. Full of presence. The kind of peace that cannot be bought or built or summoned, only lived, slowly, gently, with care. Eric lies beneath his furs. His breath is slow, his eyes closed. And though his body rests, his spirit lingers, not in dreams of gold or glory, but in the quiet beauty of his day. The feel of warm wood in his hands, the sound of soup bubbling on the fire, the laughter of his child, the hush of pine trees in the forest, the soft hush of a bedtime story whispered in the dark. This is what remains. Not battles, not crowns, not history books, just life, quiet, honest, human. And now, dear listener, may you feel that too, not as a visitor, but as a soul remembering a rhythm you already know deep inside, a rhythm of soft footsteps on earth, of breath in cold air, of firelight flickering on old walls. Let the world go quiet. Let your body sink into rest, and your mind wander gently toward the fjords, toward the fire, toward the stars. You are safe. You are home,